again, thanks for the invitation. Honored to be up here. And yes, it's interesting. I saw our construction manager for the Inland Port project about 2.5 weeks ago, and it was one of those rainy, nasty days. You know, it seems down in Charleston. He had this nice smile on his face. He said, "Oh, so things are going well." He said, "My mood is impacted not by the weather in Charleston, but the weather in Greer." So he was quite happy to see the sun was out, and we're actually making some real good progress now on construction. So honored to be here with you. We're always pleased to be in the upstate. This is really the basic business at our port. Probably 60% of South Carolina cargo that moves through the port is originating from and destined for the upstate. Of course, there are hundreds of companies that are located here every day relying on our port, and we rely on them for that business. I remember probably about 15, 20 years ago now, soon after I first joined the Port Authority, one of our statesmen at the time said that our port system and its relation to trade in the state can really be compared to a fruit tree. And while the roots and the sort of nasty part of the tree is down along the coast, a lot of the fruit is in the upstate. But without the fruit, you don't need the roots. Without the roots, you don't get the fruit. So we're definitely connected, and I appreciate the opportunity to be with you. So what I thought I would do is maybe update just briefly on what's happening here at the port. If I can figure out how to do this. Well, what do we do? There we go. Got it. So, South Carolina Ports Authority is definitely investing in our future. We have a $2 billion capital investment program over the next 10 years. And that covers not only our marine terminals, but other infrastructure, IT infrastructure. $1.3 billion of that coming from the Ports Authority. And the state of South Carolina is, of course, heavily invested in our port as well. Whether it's the new port access road, the terminal we're building down in Charleston, the next harbor deepening, to which our state has made considerable commitment, and also the new intermodal container transfer facility. The state is definitely coming to the table to support us as well. So really, I think there are three key projects I would just highlight to you here briefly, and then maybe talk a little bit about the commercial side of the inland port and what that's going to mean for us in attracting new business, investment, and jobs in South Carolina. The first is harbor deepening. Ships are getting a lot bigger. It's quite amazing. The first container ship that we handled in Charleston back in 1966 held 600 boxes on it. Today we have ships that come into Charleston that hold 9,600 boxes on it. So they've gotten much, much larger. Obviously the goal is to reduce costs. So the more they can reduce costs, the more business they can gain. In fact, this ship you see here was taken maybe 2.5 weeks ago. That ship is actually under the water, what they call the draft. It's 48 feet. Well, Charleston channels are maintained at 45 feet. So this ship moved at high tide with about 2 feet between the bottom of that ship and the channel. So you've got 90,000 tons of cargo on a 999, 1,000 foot long ship with literally 2 feet between the bottom of that ship and the channel. Fortunately, we already have the deepest channels in the southeast. We're blessed with a good harbor that's close to the open ocean. In the past, our state had stepped forward. The previous deepening project was completed in 2004, so we have an advantage. We're ahead of the game. But these ships are still getting bigger. It was just announced yesterday that a company is ordering a ship that holds 18,000 containers. So they're getting larger and larger and larger. Priority one, harbor deepening, and thanks very much to Chairman White and all our leadership in Columbia for really pressing this project forward. We have something that no other port on the eastern Gulf Coast of the United States has. We have expansion capability. This is the only new container terminal that's under construction, permitted under construction on the eastern Gulf Coast of the U.S. So when companies are looking for their supply chain 5, 10, 15 years out, they know they can grow in South Carolina. This gives them great confidence. And just like the state continues to invest in the future harbor deepening project, the Ports Authority investing in new terminal capacity is a massive project. To put this into perspective, we anticipate phase one to be about $800 million. So the inland port's roughly $40 million or so right now, so that gives you some scale of the size of investments that we're making in our future transportation infrastructure. This photo was actually taken back in February. You see them constructing what is essentially a sheet pile wall, and then around it they're beginning to fill that in. Over another 60 acres of land in the middle of this project. We anticipate phase one to be open in 2019, or as concurrent with demand as it requires. And the third project, so we have harbor deepening, we have the new terminal at the former Navy base, and then the inland port. This is a very exciting project for us. It was mentioned earlier, I think, Dean, you referenced sort of how you get where you want to be when you want to be there. Logistics, global logistics particularly, is definitely a cost game, but it is also about time and place value. Getting that product where you want it to be, when you want it to be there. And through the inland port, we're now extending, essentially, our docks 212 miles inland. And this is a game changer for all the various benefits that you've heard about. Reducing truck traffic and wasted miles on the interstates. A lot of cargo today moves on a round-trip basis. So what does that mean? So if it's an export of cotton, the empty container will be taken from the port in Charleston up to the cotton warehouse. They'll stuff it with cotton and bring the load back. All right. Then if you got an import, they'll take the load up and they'll bring the empty back. So you end up with a 220 times 2 mile truck trip. Well, this turns that into a one-way rail transit with a much shorter local drag. So you can see the reduction in emissions, the reduction in truck miles. This is a tremendous advantage for us. Beyond just the displacement of existing cargo, though, this allows us to reach into a new market. It allows the port now to get farther into eastern Tennessee, even into Kentucky, and you will be, I'm sure, hearing very soon about several new companies that are fully on board with the inland port. It's an exciting project for us. It gives us something new to talk about. But it really does connect really all four of those. The port with trucks, rail, and obviously the opportunity to expand air cargo. Today's world, it's not as much, as reliant on traditional commerce. There's so much e-commerce and fulfillment that happens. This allows you to connect next-day service from the port with Interstate 85, one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing corridors in the country over the next 10, 12 years, with air service. So this is a pretty powerful combination. The site, you all know what the site is, not better than I do, but you see the proximity to BMW and the airport. These numbers are as of a couple weeks ago, but unfortunately made a lot of progress since then. You'll see a lot of the stats there, but we're finally making some really good moves. Look at the progression. This is back in mid-February. You'll see the site as it existed at that time. That's around the time we had our groundbreaking ceremony. I don't have the exact count. I think there have been over 60 rain days lost construction since this picture was taken. So we've been fighting Mother Nature, and that's not usually a battle you end up winning. But we're making great progress now. You'll see as of sort of the first part of June, a lot of the site work was already complete. A lot of earthwork had been done. You see the road beginning to connect into the Burnsmith Parkway down there, as well as the pad for the export platform for BMW. And then the same photo, I think, that Dave perhaps used just a little while ago. This is more recent, maybe 2 weeks ago. You'll see we actually have almost 10 acres of concrete down now. We have to squint. You can almost make out we've had the first of our stacking cranes delivered from down in Charleston up here. Disassembled. Now they're being reassembled now on site, as well as the fully vertical building. So at completion, this is sort of the rendering of it. We're going to have a little less length of rail track than Dave has runway, but that might change too. We'll have about a mile of working tracks, a mile of storage track. And the real beauty of the site is it's right on the existing Norfolk Southern main line. This is not a new service that has to be created. That train goes by there every day on its way to Atlanta or from Atlanta. So this is really the beauty of the connection from a service standpoint. It will run 5 days a week each direction. So both imports arriving in Charleston can be next day, 5 days a week here, and vice versa on the export side. We anticipate probably in the neighborhood of 30 to 40,000 container lifts in the first year, and then potential build out of about 100,000. As far as the opening date, I would hope and expect a month from now we'll begin to see cargo flowing in earnest, and hopefully 2 months from now it'll be nearly 100% fully operational. So a couple things driving this, I just wanted to share with you. It kind of builds into some of our previous points, but also takes a leap to the commercial side of why this is so important. A couple of key trucking stats. Any company, we all remember that the trucking is the lifeblood of the business. That's what gets our products to stores, that's what gets material to manufacturers, that's what gets goods to where they're going to be sold. Diesel fuel has increased 93% in 4 years. It's basically doubled in 4 years. It is currently estimated to be a 30,000 driver shortage in the United States trucking industry. And the final thing, you've got a 3% reduction from new hours of service restrictions. The federal government, some might say, is waging all-out war on trucking in this country. And the latest is hours of service. So they've effectively limited the number of hours that long-haul truckers can drive. So this is kind of a perfect storm, if you will. If you're the logistics guy for a company, and you see all your product either arrives in or is delivered both by rail, by truck, this is a threat. This is a direct threat to your business. So that's why increasing modal shift, in other words, looking at combining air, truck, intermodal truck, as well as intermodal rail, is why companies are so interested in the inland port and are so interested in railroad. A couple of headlines pulled from the pages of our recent trade journals. One of them, shippers must rethink modal choices, speaking precisely to that point about the reduction in drivers, increase in fuel, and other things. The other one was from Material Handling Logistics, truck drivers on the endangered species list. And this is a real thing. If the economy continues to improve, this is going to only become more of a challenge for our economy. And this is not a rail versus truck thing. If you've got a truck product, right? So there's a truck on an end of this somewhere. This is about companies looking to mitigate risk and enhance their supply chain. So just a couple things. These are really the key 4 delivery points for clients that are looking at the inland port today. One is lower competitive costs. So you can reduce the amount you pay for equipment, like chassis that often sell containers on. You're able to originate and terminate equipment there instead of having the port 212 miles away. It's basically next door to you. Reliability and flexibility. We will have hours that reflect, I think you call it not quite port, because the port down in Charleston is 24/7, but it will give them greater flexibility in accessing the loads. They'll be able to come in and get product at times that are convenient for their production schedule. It gives you that opportunity for future growth. You've got the airport who's expanding right next door, increasing cargo service is just around the corner. It's really a platform for that next generation distribution. And then lastly, but certainly not least important, is reduced carbon footprint. A number of companies actively engage and look at this. This is important. It was mentioned earlier about EPA attainment status. The companies we're talking to up here who are going to be involved in the inland port from day one, this is a factor. And they can show an 85% reduction in their emissions, plus they get their product on a more flexible basis and perhaps at the same or lower cost. That's an attractive solution. So, just in conclusion, we've got, you're the first eyes to actually see this. So, we're launching a new advertising campaign in trade journals all around the world this month, and we're jumping off the inland port. So our port is 212 miles deep. Can't wait till I lays down and kind of see this. So this is really a focus of ours. It's a great platform for growth for the upstate, for our South Carolina Ports Authority. We're so appreciative of the partnership with all the folks at various levels of government in South Carolina, including here locally in the county, with County Greer. It's been encouraging to us. 2 weeks from today, our CEO is going to be at a conference in Kansas City speaking on a panel with BMW and Norfolk Southern about inland ports, inland distribution, how this is the next wave here in the United States. And when these attendees at this conference go to walk to their hotel room and get on the elevator, we're going to see that. So we're definitely excited about the prospects for the inland port, the opportunity to bring new jobs and investment to our state. companies up here growing and succeeding like BMW, Michelin, Bosch, Adidas, and others really mean a lot to our port and mean a lot to our community jobs, and we want to make sure we're able to serve them in a long-term way and